And anyway, as you pointed out many times, I worked with Mae Brussel and Dave Emery, and I worked for Larry Flint, and I'm now working with some podcasters like Doug Campbell, who you've been so gracious to upload to a couple of your platforms. And he says it's, been really working for him.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, he's got a new show that we may discuss tonight also, because we may jump around to a few topics. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Doug Campbell's going to be playing tonight. He'll be playing tonight at 8 o'clock, right after William Ramsey. Let me ask you a question now. Did you hear the interview with Franklin Griffin?
No.
You got to listen to it.
Not. Well, did he mention the CIA?
Well, he mentioned that he was at the Bay of Pigs, and then he thinks Oswald was a lone nut. Did you know that?
I didn't, but I'm hardly surprised.
Yeah.
I know that he was a witness to the Tippit shooting.
Right. Yeah. Okay, do this. Listen to the show, and we'll talk about it after you hear it. Very interesting, because even he says later on that he says, oh, yeah, he believes Oswald acted alone. He talked to Oswald's brother. He saw Oswald. He saw Oswald leaving the scene after Tippit got shot. And then he says that, he sent the book to George Herbert Walker Bush because his daughter or his granddaughter knew Herbert Walker Bush. Because get this, because Herbert Walker Bush and Barbara Bush were involved in this Baptist church with the daycare center over there. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Wait, they were involved with a daycare center?
Yeah, at this Baptist church. That they're very involved in it.
And what's the significance of that?
Well, the allegation...
That Griffith was. That Griffith... Oh, I see. Yeah. I see what you're saying. There's a connection between the Griffith and the Bush family through this church.
Griffith? Yeah, right. He has a connection to the Bush family through this church, and there's those allegations about Bush, and little kids, Franklin cover-up and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so he sent... forget that. But
yeah.
he sent it to Bush, and what happened?
And Bush said it's the greatest book he's ever read in his life. By the way, too, I was just talking to Griffin, too. He has some original autopsy photos, man, that he got from a friend of his down there. He's going to be sending me an email of them, okay? So we got to make sure we get him my email, okay?
Autopsy photos of whom?
Of Kennedy.
These are not. These are just the ones that are already.
We don't know.
And released.
I asked him if he's ever compared them to the ones that are released, and he says he's never compared them. But he has the originals with the numbers in the back and everything. Okay.
Does he say that Ruby acted alone?
Yeah, he thinks Ruby acted alone too. That Ruby was a carousel club owner, and that the mob didn't care about Ruby.
What's the connection between Phoenix City and some killing, mob killing? Because that's in the book too, right? Phoenix City, Alabama, this notoriously corrupt city.
Yeah,
that made movies about.
Right. Yeah, there's no connection. No, just that his father witnessed a murder, and his father got killed for witnessing that murder. If John Patterson, the governor, was the prosecutor in the case, that's what made him not want to get involved and get out of town.
Right.
It's an interesting story. You listen to it and you have your opinion. But before we get to your thing about this Ben-Menashe, right? Because you mentioned Trump scandals. What do you think? And I hate to throw you some curveballs here, but I think you can handle it, right? With Trump, it just came out last night. They reported that they can confirm through communication intercepts, they can confirm some of the stuff in that Christopher Steele report, the Golden Shower report. They didn't specifically say they can confirm the Golden Showers, but they're saying that there are conversations that they can confirm took place at the times and places written in these Christopher Steele reports. Now, have you read that?
No.
Just came out last night.
What do you know about Christopher Steele?
Well, I checked. I have a friend who's a PI over there in Surrey, England, and she said she's never heard of him. But that's not unusual. He is MI5, or I always get confused if it's MI5 or MI6 because one of them is from James Bond, is a real one, and one's a fake one. But MI5 it is, right?
there's at least 3 different Steeles that I can think of in parapolitical stories. But this guy, I mean, I haven't really researched it much, but I know there's quite a bit written about him on the internet. But I just don't know the specifics. But I just don't know what to make of some of that material. But there's more and more coming out about, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Involving Flynn. Or was it Flynn?
Yeah.
Talking about the lifting the sanctions and without having the authority to do so while Obama was still president.
Well,
I guess that's separate. But there's going to be more and more coming out about Trump and the Soviets. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree with that too. But do you really find it that there's really a problem with Flynn communicating with the Russians when they
not really?
Yeah, right. But it's just that he lied about it.
Because I understand that a lot of this whole narrative about the Russians influencing the elections, if you look at the report that they issued, it has to do with stuff like Russia Today.
Right.
And the outsized influence of Russia Today, which nobody watches. So what effect could that have?
So true. And half the people they got on RT and Press TV and these crazy internet TV stations, half of those people are crazy. You look up their background and their history, they're full of crap. No one takes those people serious.
Which people on RT?
Yeah, some of the correspondents that they have on Press TV and RTV are complete.
Oh, no, Press TV is different than RT.
No, I know, but it's usually the same cast of characters that they got reporting on there. They call them analysts. I was on there. They had me on Press TV. They interviewed me one time, and they called me an analyst. What kind of analyst am I?
And what were you talking about?
Good question. They contacted me. They wanted me to talk about gun control in the United States. And I told them that I didn't think that that there really is a gun. I think that they want more chaos, and they want us to have more guns, and they want to spur more sales of guns. This was on New Year's Eve, like 11 o'clock. They interviewed me. It was a fun interview, let me tell you that.
Well, I think Press TV is more of a mixed bag than RT. I mean, I don't watch a lot of RT, but most of what I see on there is fairly responsible. And it's a pretty good network, I think, for getting news. It's a refreshing alternative to CNN and Fox News and BBC also.
Well, I'll tell you this. I talked to,
and not to mention, of course, ABC and so on.
I interviewed Robbie Martin, who's the brother of Abby Martin, who used to be on RT, and Robbie Martin
is the brother of Abby Martin.
Right.
I know more about Abby than Robbie, but I'm interested in that.
Okay, and and Pierce Redmond talks to him all the time. By the way, have you been interviewed by Pierce Redmond?
No.
Okay, he's a good guy. You'd like him. His show.
He does Porkins Policy?
Yeah, you'd like him.
I listen to him every once in a while. Yeah, he's pretty good. I don't agree. I don't like the way he ran down. Who's that CIA guy who's always on Democracy Now? God, the name is escaping me. The old guy. He's also on KGO radio a lot, but you probably don't know that.
And he's
anyway,
CIA?
Ray something?
Ray McGovern.
Anyway, he's really good at analyzing the deep state and the war programs and the neocons, and he really knows what he's talking about. And he used to be in the CIA,
right? And
Redmond says he just doesn't trust anyone who was in the CIA. So if they come forward with all this information, he questions it, and I just think that's painting with too broad a brush.
No, I hear you. Listen, we can't all agree on everything. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's things we don't agree on either. And there's things that me and Pierce Redmond don't agree on too. He doesn't. He's totally does not believe Pizzagate. And
he doesn't believe there's anything mysterious about some of those messages that don't make any sense.
Yeah, and even still, I've talked to. I interviewed on the air, and I took a statement off the air from Ryan O'Neill, who was threatened by Alefantis, And he went to the police. He went to the FBI. He went to a lawyer. This is all documented.
I heard that. I heard the program.
And I took another statement from a guy who worked for off the air. I got a statement from a guy off the air who worked for Alefantis, who was he claims he was sexually harassed by Alefantis and he was given drugs and stuff like that, and that he's aware of another 18-year-old who was the son of another employee, let's say, over at the business there, and who was also sexually harassed and had sexual activity with the Alefantis, So we've got that, and also too, a lot of people don't know.
That's not underage, or was it?
No, it was one was like 17 or 18, and the other guy was 23. Right. But there were drugs involved, and it is kind of I don't know the phrase I'm looking for, but kind of a pattern of behavior. You'd look at it, and it's kind of interesting too that now we have, and there's always people saying that there's no connection between poetry and prose and these restaurants. Now we know that there is, because Alefantis owns the cafe underneath Poetry and Prose, where everybody says, "Hey, isn't it strange that there's a sign that says kids go here," and then there's a coffee shop down there, and that's owned by Alefantis. Okay. Yeah.
But Poetry and Prose, I presume that's a trendy bookstore that a lot of lefty writers promote their books there. And so I think it's probably somewhat coincidental that there's, that they're associated with it. But, obviously Alefantis has a lot of money to spread around,
right,
and buy a lot of real estate and so on.
And so on.
Yeah, I've heard some other broadcasts that have talked about some of these fronts that he has, and a myriad of names. I don't know if you've heard that broadcast.
Yeah, I did one. I did one myself.
Okay. So my question would be, what does Pierce Redmond say about all that stuff, or is he not really paid that much attention to it? Is he just kind of dismissing it out of hand?
Well, I don't know. I haven't discussed it with him, just only briefly on the surface, and I didn't, actually, interrogate the guy and get into the little. But I understand what you're saying. You're right. I think there's overwhelming smoke here. You know what I mean? And when there's smoke, there's fire. There's overwhelming smoke here. And
right. But I don't know, and I know there's an association, but that's if you're talking about Haiti, for example,
right?
The Clinton Foundation and the children that went missing or trafficked, and this woman named Sisby,
right?
And she does have an association with the foundation, but can you extrapolate from that Hillary Clinton is involved in trafficking children? And I think that's what a lot of people want to do.
Well, I know what you're saying, and it does seem like in order to they created a straw man, especially on MSNBC when talking about Pizzagate, saying that Hillary Clinton was in charge of this whole thing. Hillary Clinton was down there, and Hillary Clinton this and that. When really, Podesta seems to be up to his ears and all this, but really very little about Clinton herself. Except that
now the Washington Post did run a story though about some of these allegations and the parts of it that were factual. I think they ran one, and the New York Times belatedly ran one, acknowledging that there is some smoke there, but they bury it and they run it for one day.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they call it fake news the rest of the time.
It's a scary situation, yeah. And also too, there were those leaks. About allegedly what is on Anthony Weiner's laptop. And they're claiming that there's all kinds of stuff on there about Hillary and Epstein's Island. And a lot of that's coming from this guy, Eric Prince, who ran Blackwater.
Right. Now, I regard that as a rumor, but I think it's interesting that Eric Prince is the brother of Betsy DeVos. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely, yeah. And he also donated $2 million to Trump 2 months in October, before November, when everyone thought
she's a billionaire.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, what do you call it? Yeah, when everybody thought that Trump was going to lose, he was donating $2 million, so he knew something. I believe that the Trump through Giuliani and the connections between Trump's head of security and Blackwater, which is Prince. That I believe that he would have access to that information. I can't believe he would go on the radio and make it up. You know, I think that